Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of Build a Figure. This is just a series where we check out custom head sculpts, outfit sets, we do kit bashes, you name it, but most importantly, we build figures. Today, we're going to be upgrading the Toys Battalion Shazam, specifically with a body swap. Now, most of the time, collectors will go with a Fison body when they're going to do this kind of mod. For me, and for this particular custom, I just don't think Fison is going to work. Number one, the skin tone is way off. The Fison bodies are quite tan, actually. And number two, because the suit is super tight and stitched around the back, because silicone is very squishy, when we cinch everything together, the silicone will be compacted and squish in. We will lose a lot of the bulk that this body has right now. In this suit, it might not look significantly better than the stock body does. So the one that I decided to go with is the gang hood body, specifically the 1.0. Now, the reason I chose this body is because it's solid plastic, so it's not going to squish like the Fison one in this suit. And number two, even though the skin tone match isn't perfect, it is a hell of a lot closer than that Fison one was. I would prefer something even bigger than this, but the World Box bodies are too massive. This originally used to be the Hot Toys Bane body, so if it's big enough for Tom Hardy's Bane with the rounded shoulders and the big pecs, I think it's going to work for this particular version of Shazam. Only one way to find out though. The first thing we want to do is remove his cape. This is something that I wouldn't usually do on camera, but it's attached around these lion heads on fishing wire, so quite straightforward to remove. Then we want to bring in some scissors and cut the little piece of string holding the suit together. Ideally, this would be a zipper, then we don't have to cut anything. Unfortunately, Toys Battalion decided to stitch the suit together. They have used a ladder stitch, which was done by hand, which means when we try and restitch everything, we will be using the exact same method, a ladder stitch, to close the suit back up on the new body. Now that he's been unstitched all the way down and I've removed the excess string, the next step is to take off the belt. It looks completely seamless, don't let that fool you. This had to go on the body somehow, which means there is a seam somewhere. And if you look close enough, you can see that right there it's starting to split. So that's where the belt can come undone. It is super glued in position. So when we put it on the new body, something tells me that we will have to do some modifications to get this on there because his waist is quite small on this original body. You can see that the red dye from the suit has done a number on this body. It has stained it to hell. I do have a plan for some kind of custom using this body because it's got a very pale skin tone which is quite specific. And we will have to wait and see how that turns out now that I have seen how stained this body is. The suit is this very soft rubbery material, so trying to take it off might be a challenge at first. Once you have enough of it off, you can flip it inside out and then you should be able to peel it off the rest of the body. Down here for the legs, it's also quite stained. Now I will be taking off these thigh pad pieces just to make sure that the new body is bulky enough. I'm not sure that the gang hood ones are going to do the job, the ones that come stock out of the box with that particular body. Just for comparison, as you can see, there is a lot more definition, some more musculature on these pieces versus the gang hood ones. They're quite smooth. For me, I prefer having more definition, so I'm going to take these ones off the stock body and pop them on the gang hood one. Look, we're not done yet. We still have to pop on the belt, the gauntlets, the head sculpt, the cape, and the chest symbol, which unfortunately did peel off throughout the suit removal process. So far, so good. This body is significantly larger, and it's giving me that bulky presence that I was after from Shazam. I'm still concerned about the skin tone mismatch between the hands and the neck. They are far enough apart that it shouldn't be a massive issue. It's more when we pop the head sculpt on that it's going to become a concern. Installing the gauntlets wasn't massively challenging, but it wasn't super easy either. I just popped them in some boiling water and then slid them over the forearms. Because the suit does clamp down over the wrist pegs, you don't have a massive risk of sliding the gauntlets on and then the suit sliding up and bunching as well. So once you heat them up, Pop them on there, they'll stretch out a little, and then you'll be able to install the hand to lock everything in position. I didn't plan on doing any painting in this episode of Build-A-Figure. It just so happens that when it comes to customs, sometimes things don't always go to plan. Which is what happened with this chest symbol. As I was removing the suit and this was flexing and bending, the paint started to peel off in the middle. At least the gold still looks good, all of the patina is still here. All I have to do is mask off the edges and repaint the center of the chest symbol. It shouldn't be a massive challenge. So it turns out I did a lot of painting in this episode, and not just for the chest symbol. We may as well start off here though. The first thing I did was mask the edges of the symbol, and I know my masking wasn't perfect, but it's fine, I'm happy with it. Then I painted the middle of the symbol in white, just because you want this really nice bright white base color for the yellow to really pop on. After that, I feathered the edges in yellow, making sure to leave the middle of the chest symbol a little bit more white and bright. That way it looks like it's glowing. After that, a high gloss clear just to seal the paint in there and for it to look even shinier. I also went into the crevices with a little bit more of a black wash to help all of this line work stand out. So I said I wasn't going to do this because I thought it was going to be too challenging to paint the skin tone on the body. Seeing as though I already had the airbrush out for the chest symbol, I thought may as well give it a go, so I just feathered this lighter skin tone on top of the tan base color for the body. I let a little bit of it poke through just on the high spots to make it look like intentional shading. It's not perfect, you can still see there's a subtle skin tone mismatch. For me, it's close enough that at a normal viewing distance in the collection, I think it matches pretty well. We knew the belt was going to be an issue because the new waist is significantly wider than the original. So to solve this issue, I could have gone one of two ways. I could have just used the belt and then glued it onto the suit, locking it in position. Or I could have done this, which is use a piece of elastic on the inside of the belt. So it's adjustable, it's nice and stretchy, you can slide it on and off the body. And if you need to do any adjustments because it's too tight or too loose, I can just remove the elastic, tighten it up, and then pop it right back on there. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be my go-to option for resizing these rubbery plastic superhero belts. It went on super easy, I just pushed the legs together, then slid the belt over the body, and it's nice and cinched around his waist. Plus, it is still adjustable. If I had glued this in position, yes, it might have sat even tighter, eliminating these gaps up here, but it wouldn't have been adjustable, so I would have had to make sure it was perfect, and then flipped him round and hoped for the best, and just prayed that everything was in alignment. I want to minimize as many risks as possible, so going with the elastic, it gives me the freedom to move it around. I'm not locked into anything. You do want to make sure to melt the edges of the elastic where you trim it, just so that it doesn't fray underneath this belt area. The last thing you want is to have all these little fuzzles sticking out around the back. We're almost there, and I, for one, am really excited to see this guy complete on his new body. I've just done the stitching around the back, and while it's not the cleanest, it is a very sturdy stitch. I went with a ladder stitch. Now, if you're not sure how to do this, it's just good old-fashioned hard work with a needle and thread. No sewing machines, nothing fancy. I just sat down, used the needle and thread, sewed the darn thing together, and made sure it was nice and tight and clamped around the body. That means that now everything is cinched. The only bagginess here is down here at the elbows, but I reckon with some futzing of the material, I should be able to sort that out. That chest symbol, I am really impressed with how good it looks under harsh lighting. When the light hits this white in the middle and it reflects back off the glossy surface, it literally looks like it's glowing. This is the effect that I was after from the stock symbol. And it just goes to show if some moron like me with an airbrush can do this, then companies surely can as well. Just paint it to look like it's glowing. It doesn't always have to actually glow. The only thing that we need to do now is add the cape, and then we're done. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. On his brand new body, this dude is looking better than ever. I don't know what happened throughout production because people gave them feedback. When they put this guy up for pre-order, people were commenting non-stop saying, "Toys Battalion, please, this is our only 1/6 scale Shazam, get it right, the body is too small." But they didn't care, they persisted with it, and lo and behold, when this guy released, yeah, the body was far too small. Go figure, right? It's not like people were telling you all along, Toys Battalion. They could have literally just gone with this gang hood body. It's been available for years at this point, all the way back to when we first got Hot Toys Bane. This is a copy of that body. They decided not to. Now that I've done the upgrade, I think it's well worth doing. He's bigger, he's chunkier, he fills out the suit, and the proportions make sense. He looks way more realistic. Up close and personal, now that the transformation is complete from the very skinny stock body to this nice chunky gang hood one, I'm gonna call it here. I reckon right now, this for me is a perfect Shazam. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, saying that I made it perfect, because you can do this as well. It was a pretty darn easy custom. Yes, there was a little bit of paint involved. Can technically get away without doing any of that. You don't have to redo the chest symbol if you're careful. And you don't have to paint the neck on the body if you don't mind the skin tone mismatch. He now fills out the suit exactly as I was hoping he would. I love how he bulges out up here at the top of the suit, then tapers down to the waist. The belt is now adjustable thanks to the elastic, so I can move it up and down. The gauntlets fit well. The hands now match the skin tone. The boots no longer look massive and stupid and clown shoe-like, thanks once again to that larger, chunkier frame. And with the padding from the stock body on the thighs, you can see a little bit of muscle definition. I only wish that this gap wasn't present, but there's not really much I can do about that. The only other upgrade that I'm considering now is eventually switching out the cape. But let's give some of the other head sculpts a go. Like, for example, the bubblegum head sculpt, which is still my favorite of the three. It's full of life, especially with that cocked eyebrow. It looks a little bit goofy and a touch whimsical, which is perfect for Shazam. The skin tone match is also spot on, thanks to that new paintwork on the neck. Not exactly sure how I'm going to display him, or even who I'm going to display him with yet. That remains to be seen. At this stage, if I had to guess, it would probably be Black Adam. It just depends on what they look like standing side by side. At least now he's presentable on this larger body. If you're thinking the neck looks a little bit long, yes, you're not alone, I can totally see that. If I take out the neck connector inside the head sculpt, I can move it up and down, so I could shorten the neck if I wanted. The only reason I'm leaving it a little bit higher on there is because the head sculpt is sitting very tight around the neck. And I don't want to damage that new paint that I've just added on there that I've been going on and on and on about. The smiling head sculpt is also full of personality, but I think the likeness isn't quite as good as the bubblegum head sculpt or even just the stock neutral one. For a quick side-by-side comparison, before anyone asks, no, I don't own two Shazams, this is just some movie magic. On the left, the original body, and on the right, the new and improved gang hood version. You can see how much of a difference the new body has made. He's gone from looking a little bit weird, Billy Batson-esque perhaps, very skinny and lean, just swimming in this red suit, to this massive hulking superhero on the right. It's honestly a night and day difference. You all knew we were going to revisit this, because this, in the original review, told me immediately that Shazam was too small. He looked ridiculous next to Superman. Now, on the other hand, he looks really good next to Supes. Yes, he's still skinnier, yes, he's still shorter. I'm okay with that. They're not going to have the exact same body shape and size. A little bit of a difference between the two, perfectly acceptable. Wrapping up on another episode of Build-A-Figure, another one in the can, and I love this series, because it challenges me. I never know what I'm getting myself into when I start one of these episodes. I was honestly hoping that this one was going to be one of the easier ones. I would just undo the suit, pop the new body in, zip the suit back up, stitch it up, and job done. Of course, we now know that that wasn't the case. A hell of a lot more work was required. I had to paint stuff, I had to heat and stretch stuff, I had to do sewing, I had to glue some elastic in place, and a hell of a lot of futzing. But it was so worth it. This guy has now gone from a figure that I literally was not going to display, I said that in the review for him, to a figure that I am absolutely popping in the DC collection. He scales better with other characters, he fills out the suit, and the proportions look so much better. I got to put this guy together exactly how I wanted to, making my perfect version of Shazam. Now, if you are heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.